everybody, this is Cheryl. I just wanted to talk about orchids. I like to grow orchids. I like to have flowers in the house in the wintertime. I have African violets too, different flowering things to make things pretty. And a lot of people think our orchids are hard to grow. They don't understand what they need to do with them once they take them home. So I was going to make a video to talk about it. Orchids are light and water growing plants. They don't really need fertilizer. I have fertilized mine maybe once and it burnt the leaves a little bit, so obviously I didn't do it right. So I have not ever done it again, and things I've read say you don't really need to, especially if you have them planted in a medium that's got bark. That gives them enough fertilizer. You want to water these a minimum of a 2.5 inch pot, which is a little mini, like so. That needs 1.5 ounces of water a week. And then the bigger 3-inch ones, 2 ounces of water. A 4-inch pot, like this square one, needs about 2.5 ounces of water a week, and this is a 5-inch pot. This is what got me more interested in the water of orchids. This one was beautiful when I bought it a year or two ago. I think I bought it 2 years ago, and it had 3 flower spikes on it, and it was a really cool rusty brown color, orangey, not really one I had seen. And to get it to bloom again has taken a couple of years, and you'll notice there's 2 flower spikes on it coming up. It's hard to get more than 1 flower spike on a plant. This tiny little guy has 1 spike. That guy back there has 1 spike. So a really healthy, mature plant will have more than 1 spike on them. This little guy has 2 spikes. The lighting, I'm using lights from Home Depot. They're little 12-inch grow lights. Put one on each shelf just to improve the lighting. You don't want to keep an orchid in direct sunlight because that's about 10,000 lumens and they need about 1,500 lumens. So they need bright indirect light. This window that they're in front of faces north, so they don't ever have any direct sun coming in here on them, but they have a lot of indirect light. Temperature, no ice. A lot of them are gimmicky. When you buy them, they'll have a little tag on them that says, oh, 1 ice cube a week. And you set it on there and it melts, and that's not enough water for these. The one that I was talking about that had the 3 spikes, you can tell if you're watering it enough, because what happened after I got it was these leaves got very leathery. If your leaves are kind of dehydrated, it should be kind of like a succulent. They should be kind of plump and not limp. They should be strong enough to hold themselves up, filled out, not leathery, not dehydrated looking, and then you know you're watering enough. If your roots look like this, it's time to water. Your roots should be green, like so, a nice green color. If they're kind of light green, grayish, the outsides of the roots are dry, it's time to water. So you can water them with a measured amount of water, or you can carry them to the sink and set water in the sink and spray them down and let them soak up from the bottom, and then take them all back out once a week. That's any way to water them where there's not water standing in them. When you put the water in there and you look in the bottom at the end, you don't want water standing down in there. It should all soak up into the medium. Alright, so we talked about lighting, we talked about water, temperature, no ice. They need to be between 60 and 80 degrees. My kitchen is added onto my house, and my house is 100 years old. So the kitchen has like no insulation. It's hot in the summer, it's cold in the winter, and it's perfect for growing orchids, because if you grow them at about 80 degrees, 60 to 80, but anyway, the upper end of that, 75, and then the temperature drops like it does every fall here. That's what makes all of mine start going into bloom at the same time. When the temperature drops to 60 to 65 degrees, it makes them make a flower spike. So there's a little flower spike. It takes about 5 months to make that flower spike. So here we are in February. So this started like November, October, when it started getting cool at night in the kitchen. You don't want to have a bunch of drafts. You don't want rapid temperature changes around your plants. That's one bad part about where I have this. It is by the kitchen door, so when we open it in the winter, they do get a blast of cold, but so far they've done okay. So when they grow these orchids, they grow them at about 82 degrees with super high humidity. And then when they get mature, when they're about 2 years old, they put them somewhere colder, 60 to 65, and that's what makes them bloom. That's why they look so pretty when you buy them in the store. But to get them to regrow, you're going to have to make sure you got water, light. See how this leaf is kind of dry and leathery looking? It should be more plump and crisp like this leaf here. I hope the lighting in this is okay, that you're going to be able to see what I'm talking about. So when it does make a flower spike, like this one has done very nicely, it takes, like I said, about 4 to 5 months to grow that, and then this is slowly opening. They open from the bottom up. It takes about 4 or 5 days for each spike for each flower bud to open and turn into a flower. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We've already been about a week and a half. I was waiting for the right amount of flowers to be open to make this video, to make it pretty. They bloom open from the bottom first, and then they slowly go up to the top. So it's still got 1, 2, 3, 4 more flowers it's going to open. And then once they're all open, they will last for 6 to 8 weeks. So this was one that was store-bought and is starting to fade. And I've had blooms in here since Thanksgiving when we bought this. You don't want to fertilize after they bloom, because they kind of take a little break after that, so they don't need fertilizer at that point. If you're going to fertilize them at all, don't do it then. You know your plants are really happy if they're making flower spikes. If your leaves are thick and not limp, and then if your flowers that have wilted, well, I'm going to show you 2 of them. This one right here, all the leaves, all the flowers had fallen off of the back. But before all of them have fallen off, this one is about to fall off. It put a new tip on it and started making more flowers. So it's obviously getting enough. This one also. The leaves, the flowers, you can pull them off when they're dried up. And then if their plants are really happy, they're going to put a new tip on there. See, that one is still flowering, but it's starting a new tip right in there. Let me get at a good angle. The tip of that right there is starting to, it's going to grow, and it's going to put more little buds on it and flower some more. So I've got so many of them making flower spikes. I'm so happy. So many. The varieties are different varieties. These are the easiest to grow. Phalaenopsis. They had the big spikes and the big showy flowers. The white flowers will stay on the longest. I think these stay on the least, the darker purple ones. What else did I want to tell you? So every leaf on here can make a spike. There's a little thing at the base of it, a little kind of like this little bud looking thing at the base of each leaf. But the leaf has to be mature, and it has to have at least 2 leaves above it to make a spike. So you'll see where this one, it'll start at the bottom, like when it first blooms down here. You can see these. This is the level where I cut the spikes off from last year, and now it's come out up here at this level. So each time it's got to have 2 rows of leaves above it. So as your plant grows, that's where your next group of spikes are going to come out. So I hope y'all enjoyed this and learned something. A little bit of tip about how to tell if your watering and lighting is good. I'm going to zoom in right here, maybe. Let's see, right there. Let's see if you can see the tips. See the tips of those roots? The white skin kind of stuff splits and puts new green out. That's a happy plant. It's getting enough water. It's wanting to grow. Good luck, guys. Hope you have fun growing your own orchids. A couple of things I wanted to say that I forgot to say. So you don't want to cut the spike off until it turns brown, like this one has. See how it's kind of brown and shriveled up? Because as long as it's still green, it may decide to bud again. So wait for it to turn brown and dry up, and then you can just clip it off down here at the base of the plant. You leave a ½ inch or so out from the leaf so you don't damage the leaf. And if you have low humidity like we do in the wintertime, this is something that I got for Christmas, was this tray that you can put under your plants and put rocks in and set your plants on it, your pots on it, so that, and then you put water down there in the tray, in the rocks, and the humidity will raise around the plants as the water evaporates out. So that is an option. But what I've seen is most people don't water their plants enough. In the wintertime, my routine is watering them weekly, and then they're going to get a mist every day. And it's not hard. This is like a 98-cent spray bottle from Walmart. If you have a plant that has some leathery leaves like that one, mist it twice a day, morning and evening, and then still water it once a week until the leaves fatten back up and get strong again. That's what I've had to do with this one. And once you let it get that dehydrated, it's a slow process to get it back. So just give it some love and y'all will do great.